Hello. Today I'll be presenting to you my research on the challenges faced by global supply chain systems. But first, a little bit about myself. My name is Brandon Owen. I'm a junior here at Western Michigan University studying marketing and business analytics. I expect to graduate after the spring 2025 semester. Part of my undergrad coursework included writing a research paper on the global supply chain, the contents of which I will briefly share with you today. Though problematic in some ways, global supply chains are a marvel of technological advancements and interplay between the most significant commercial powers in the worldwide ecosystem. Gone are the days of large-scale corporations being the only firms capable of reaching segments outside of their country of origin. Let's begin with some definitions. A supply chain is a system of organizations, people, activities, information, and resources, international in scope, that provides products or services to consumers. This consists of design, development, manufacturing, processing, handling, and delivery of products and services. But each link in this chain is subject to a wide degree of unpredictability due to the influence from outside factors. I'd also like to quickly outline where we're headed today. Clearly, COVID-19 has led consumers, companies, politicians, and everyone around the world to see the results of a supply chain when not functioning properly. There's boats loaded with products stuck out at sea, empty store shelves in the grocery store. It is really made clear that when the system falls apart, it truly does touch each and every one of our lives in some way. First, let's talk about data capturing and data analytics. Digitalization and a vast expansion of business IT networks around the globe has led to what we call big data. Big data, including large volumes of structured and unstructured data, are newly available to firms to help inform their decision-making and should, in theory, make everything in the supply chain go smoother. But companies these days are finding it difficult to utilize this newfound capability in this technological age. Even with globalization bringing a bunch of different systems together, data is not as simple as it sounds. This large volume of unstructured data that hasn't been cleaned or organized is not really useful, even though it exists. And there's been some inconsistencies with how the data is collected, where it's not necessarily context related, which makes it hard for even experienced analysts to draw conclusions from. And companies thus far have not invested the amount of time and money that it would take to have managers managing teams of analysts to ensure that the data is collected in a manner that makes it usable, but then also give them the time and resources they need to actually do their research and come to conclusions and create visualizations and be able to pitch that information to the decision makers in the company. Another one of the problems is the unpredictability of supply and demand. Specifically in COVID, we saw drastically unpredictable trends where consumers were ordering a bunch more products than originally anticipated, so retailers didn't have enough on hand. And then managers had the impossible task of trying to take these out-of-trend situations they were dealing with and properly stock those products again. So they're placing these massive orders or under-ordering depending on the behavior of consumers at the time, not realizing that, especially when everything's shut down, that the manufacturers are having trouble meeting the typical demand anyways, let alone bringing more products to store shelves in the United States and around the globe. So that put stress on other parts of the chain, and then there was a breakdown of communication between those on the floor managers, the decision makers at the top of all of the companies who oversee this manufacturing process, and then the manufacturers and suppliers themselves. And without a better system for communicating between all these different links in the chain, we're going to see these same problems happen over and over. The people placing the orders can't make the supply and demand decisions the way that they need to. And as I said, that's going to cause ripples down the line. The next one of the challenges that I covered is not one that I or many other people would likely expect. with positive innovation, like the development of electric vehicles or integrating new software into the processes in these large companies that makes things more efficient for the headquarters, may have negative ripple effects down the line if you don't plan properly. There was a really interesting study that I referenced in my research, and I included a chart, a model, if you will, that kind of follows the chain of events as things happen. But in general, they call this concept post-innovation stability change paradox. For example, they talked about a management team that started using a new software to manage suppliers. And even though that made it a lot easier for them to onboard new suppliers, the existing suppliers then may have a drastic reaction thinking that they're going to be more quickly replaced. And if they start to get cold feet and back out of certain deals, or maybe don't put in the same quality that they used to out of fear that, they need to be looking for a new company to work with, then that could cause problems down the line. I guess in a nutshell, to kind of tie everything back together without going into the full detail that I talk about in my paper, global supply chain deals with many persistent struggles. Nevertheless, as our increasingly interconnected world continues to go down the path of globalization, supply chain systems are more important than they have ever been. Given that they will still deal with the difficult implementation of data capture, analytics, the unpredictability of supply and demand, and unintended negative consequences that come alongside global innovation, these supply chains have a bright future if firms are willing to invest in developing better systems and protocols. Together with eager participation of the world's leading commercial powers, we will continue to alter and improve the product flows and connections between all of the existing links in the chain. It's a long process and will be a difficult process, but even with a bunch of trial and error, I think eventually we will get to a better place with our global supply chain, which is still relatively young in the grand scheme of things. If you have any questions about the paper that I wrote or information about globalization and digitalization, it is within my area of study, and I'll continue to be looking into it as I work on my honors thesis. So feel free to reach out to me or my professor, but my email is listed here in case you would like to inquire with your questions or would like to read the research that I've been working on. But with that being said, thank you for your time.